Is the key difference between these two intros that one is Peter Dinklage? We're entering our flop era.
Shit's bleak out here. All right.
18 plus. Who wants to get milked?
It's kind of quality we have here at Debate This.
I need the edge. I need what the raw, unfiltered internet can bring you.
This is probably only going to be the third or fourth dumbest thing I've said today.
That's for nobody.
Just out there raw dogging the internet.
Way more hog than I expected.
It's about as much hog as I anticipated.
This is going to be one of those episodes, isn't it?
Here comes the cow. Here comes the cow.
All right, let's get this over with so we can play Magic. Hello and welcome to Debate This, the show where no one is right, but someone is definitely wrong. In this show, we take time out of our busy adult lives to talk about comic books, video games, and how Chris Pratt will be voicing Loot as the main character of the brand newly announced, as of 3 hours ago of this recording, Magic the Gathering movie.
I've been in a van all day. I don't know if this is real or not.
It's 50% real.
It's 50% real. I will let you guess which 50%.
Is Chris Pratt real? Well, Chris Pratt is real.
He is a real man.
But
he's a real
The
boy.
concept of Chris Pratt exists.
Yeah.
But he's not in my movie.
The command zone just broke as of this recording. The command zone just broke that there will be a Magic the Gathering movie that was announced. It's being done by Legacy Pictures, who did the Dune movies.
Okay.
And the command zone guys are very, very excited because they are Hollywood dudes. And I'm so happy for them. We literally know nothing about it other than like it's a Magic the Gathering movie, and there was also a Magic the Gathering show announced for Netflix that we know nothing about. So like, big shrug.
What was the Netflix show announced in the same announcement? Because there was a Magic the Gathering Netflix show announced in 2013,
a long time ago.
Yeah,
and it's still in development hell.
Good.
Yeah, so like, will this actually happen? Who knows? But I think it's very fun that it's a very fun concept that like, because Loot is being jammed down our collective throats.
That it's Chris Pratt.
Of course, Chris Pratt is going to voice Loot. He has to.
If me and my friends saw Loot in real life, we would kill him with shovels.
Yep. I missed you. I missed you at... I made a Loot reference. Listeners, this is our last live show. If you're listening, if you happen to hear it, I made a Loot reference in that live show. Nobody got
it. Dead silence.
It just...
Yeah.
It was wrong crowd.
It's rough. It's rough out here, Andrew.
It's rough, buddy. Speaking of dead silence, let's talk about space. Now, some say it's the final frontier. But today's topic...
Others say it's the last place uncorrupted by capitalism.
But our topic of conversation today instead says that space is the intersection of primordial worm gods, cyborg necromancers, ancient space magic, and immortal bipedal bug people who rule over thought palaces of their own psychic creation.
And
you know, it's kind of cool.
We did Warhammer 40K already.
Oh, man. Right. So, okay, we're going to talk about Destiny. And we're going to talk about Destiny 2. And I don't think there is a better way to put... To clarify Destiny as Warhammer meets Star Wars.
Cool.
Good.
I'm in. Sold.
Yep.
Done.
Yep. And guys, get ready for some of the most buck wild fever dream shit you have ever heard this side of the Milky Way. I'm very excited. So before we get into it, real quick disclaimer. Today's episode is brought to you by one of our most dedicated light bringers, leading the DT Vanguard. That's user at Zakix. Now, all of you out there listening, you can commission your own flavor text. To do so, all you need to do is enter Orbit, open up your director menu, and make your way to patreon.com/debatethiscast. If you want to... Also, disclaimer, I'm already losing my voice. This is only going to be as we descend into the eyes of madness, my voice will be continue to fray, much like Ganondorf's cape at the end of Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and we're all here for it. So
Andrew will be
croaking
by the end of this episode.
Yeah, dude.
And we're not all here for it. Todd isn't here for it.
We are not all here for it.
Yeah, Todd opened a pack of magic cards and got an ancient copper dragon and flew. So that's where Todd is.
Much like the main character of Tron, he got sucked into his booster pack.
That's it. You never go fizz to Didge, man.
It's really
He
good.
forgot the rule.
Unfortunately, yes. Todd Nightmare Harvester Thomas was on routine patrol on Mars, and ding dang, the whole planet got pulled into a pocket dimension. Ah, beans.
Oh, dang it.
But let me welcome the rest of my loyal fire team today. We've got Matt, the Witch Queen Cole, and Kyle, the last of the Wish Dragons Harper.
That'd be pretty cool if people called me the Witch Queen all the time. I'm into that.
Yeah, man.
Last of the Wish Dragons is also pretty rad.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Rush album.
There it is.
There is some really good prog rock metal bullshit in this. But let's dive in. As we always do, I'd love to understand from the two of you guys, what do you know about Destiny other than me foaming at the mouth talking about it on this podcast?
I have never played Destiny, but I have known a ton of people who have really loved Destiny. And I'll be honest, when I played Helldivers 2, I was like, isn't this what Destiny is? And everybody said kind of, but also no. I
think that's a closer comparison than you maybe got credit for.
Yeah. I know that it's like as far as deep, enthralling, very twisted lore stories go, Destiny is certainly up there. And I know that it's about space. That's pretty much all space. That's what I got.
Okay.
I know about that much, except I could get to also add that I think I still have the disc for it because it's useless now.
What?
Oh,
you mean like the original one?
Yeah, Destiny 1. I got
that's amazing.
I got as a Christmas gift on PS3 when I think the PS4 was already out.
Right.
Cool.
I got it from my mom got it for me because as an avid consumer of late night talk shows, saw Sir Paul McCartney on one such show talking about how he wrote a song for Destiny. And she made me watch the music video for that song like Christmas morning, shortly after I opened Destiny.
Was this pre or post Beatles rock band guitar?
Post.
Okay. I was trying to get my timeline.
Yeah. I played one random night I had off. I was like, I'm gonna play Destiny. And I got rocked because I'm awful at first person shooters.
Fair.
But I watched this cutscene you had us watch. I played a few hours, and then by the time I picked it back up again, the PS3 Destiny servers had been shut down, and I can't. The game
doesn't exist
anything.
anymore.
So
yeah. Interesting. That's so funny. I had no idea that you had played OG Destiny. That's really fun. So listeners at home, a couple things in the show notes. You will see an Imager link. It is Imager, not Imgur. You'll see an Imager link. That is our usual image folder. Follow along if you are at a computer and not driving. Great. There are two more links there. There are two YouTube links. The first is the original intro from all the way back in vanilla OG Destiny 1. And the second is the new player intro as of 2024. So when you boot up Destiny 2 for the first time, that's the intro that you get as a new player. And both are fun to watch to compare the two, but to understand, it's a really good capsule to understand how much the game has changed and how much they've retconned in their own history. So, I mean, again, it's like watching the MCU circa Incredible Hulk versus the MCU circa
now
Phase 5, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's a lot sexier. The cameras are nicer. Everything's in HD, right? So let's rewind the clock. Let's start all the way back, fall 2007. The gaming world finished the fight as Halo 3 launched worldwide to Xbox 360s everywhere. If Todd were here, he'd be screaming.
He would be.
unwittingly nearly caused thousands of college kids to flunk out, including Todd and myself. Halo's creator, development studio Bungie, had become a titan, no pun intended, from their own success. Now, right as the franchise hit some of its highest highs, it was announced that Bungie and Microsoft were going to split. And this very much was like rare splitting from Nintendo. Everyone's like, what's Bungie going to do? Whatever. Microsoft took over Halo. Bungie went their own way. Now, in a couple years that followed, Bungie would do a couple more Halo games. We got ODST and Halo Reach, two incredible bangers of that series. Some of my favorite games some of my favorite Halo games. But we're not going to talk about Halo. We have a flavor text on that already, so go check that out.
Already.
We did that already. Now, during Halo Reach, Bungie had split off and started working on their own thing called Project Tiger. Now, the original view of Project Tiger was going to be a sprawling fantasy world. Bear that in mind when you hear a lot of the things about the bigger tropes in Destiny. Remember that this was always intended to be a high fantasy setting that eventually got turned into sci-fi. And they did that because they, knowing their roots, Halo, Marathon before it, they knew space and they wanted to stay in space. But as you heard earlier, things like the Witch Queen, the Last of the Wish Dragons, right? Like these are fantasy tropes that make so much more sense when you know that what this was originally going to be.
I know at one point on this podcast, possibly years ago, I think we talked about Star Wars not being sci-fi, but like being a drama that's set in space or something along those lines.
Star Wars is a Western.
A Western set in space, yeah.
Western and a samurai or samurai.
Or a samurai movie.
Yeah. So Destiny is like a high fantasy noble's tale told in space.
It's a high fantasy space opera.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, man.
You were.
I got you. So during Project Tiger's development, Bungie was like, hey, we're going to need some money. So they entered into a 10-year deal with Activision. Now, this is different than where they are today and how they dealt with Microsoft. Activision would purely be a publisher. So this was not an acquisition. They were partnering with Activision to do the marketing and the publishing. And so during the PlayStation 4 announcement, the original PS4 announcement in February of 2013, Destiny was officially announced and released a year and a half later in September of 2014 to thousands of homes and Kyle's mom across the United States.
Indeed.
Now that would be only for, and this is important to note, only for PlayStation and Xbox. Famously, Destiny 1 was never available for PC.
This is why I never played Destiny. Right.
This is why you never played Destiny. Yep. And this is why Destiny was always originally seen and built to be a console shooter.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Much like Halo.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I kind of remember
now, obviously,
that, like, because I think Derek did play Destiny, and I kind of remember
Destiny is such a Derek shit.
I kind of remember going home one time and essentially finding out he got an Xbox One because all his friends were playing Destiny, and he needed a way to play.
If your brother told me tomorrow, he'd be like, "Oh, I've been playing Destiny for 20 years." I'd be like, "Yeah, man, I get it. I totally.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised at all." Now, Destiny is and always was a AAA title, and as such, the game would pull in some real heavy hitters for its voice cast, including Lauren Cohen, Lance Reddick, John DiMaggio, Matt Mercer, the internet darlings, Matt Mercer, Gina Torres, Nathan Fillion, and even Peter Dinklage. Who the last of which famously whose performance was memed so hard that he was replaced by everyone's favorite video game character, Nolan North.
I do remember that. I thought it was because he was memed so hard. I thought it was it was after they put out the first expansion, and I heard it was like contract disputes.
That's the official word. The tight 30 on this is your main character. You play a voiceless protagonist, and your kind of guide, your Cortana in this game is your Ghost. We'll talk about Ghost, and Ghost is like the voice of the protagonist. In the original Destiny, Ghost is voiced by Peter Dinklage, and a lot of people like it's remembered very much as being a very flat performance. Like it's Peter Dinklage trying to be a robot, but like not really succeeding. And again, there's videos out there, but like
if I am guessing at the timeline correctly, I'm also betting he took the deal sometime around when he took the deal for Game of Thrones.
This is exactly that time.
Then between then and recording, Game of Thrones blew up. And he didn't care as much about this project.
He didn't care as much. The best line is there's in the opening for Destiny 1, when you're fighting one of the first armies, the line is, "That witch came from the moon." So in the first expansion, they brought on Nolan North, famously voice of Nathan Drake in Uncharted, among a million other video games, who is currently the Ghost even till today. But yeah, voice cast stellar. Nathan Fillion is in here and is in here a lot.
Hell yeah.
Playing Nathan Fillion. Half the cast of Firefly is in this game pretty much. It's
good.
Great. Which like that's what you want.
Yeah.
Now, by Destiny's launch, the game had already brought in 4.6 million players to its open beta. This was a huge launch, right? Because this was the Halo guys. Like everyone was coming off of Reach. This was a console exclusive shooter that was massive multiplayer. This thing was fucking huge.
This was like right before the Reddit drop off began, and for 2 years probably there was Destiny on the front page of Reddit.
Yes,
every day
for a lot of reasons.
Yes,
and we're going to talk about the cycle of Destiny and the cycle of the forever game. Much like the Pokemon hype cycle, Destiny has a very similar hype cycle where everything comes up, we get a drip feed of content, and it's the greatest fucking thing in the world, and people are psyched. The game comes out, everyone's like, Destiny's the best again. It's so much better than it has been, and people rush through it and go through the content in less than a week and then are bored.
Yeah.
And then it goes to everyone's done with the new thing. I'm bored with the new thing.
I definitely saw the cycle of new content. I beat the new content. New content sucks.
New content sucks.
Yeah.
Destiny is dead forever. Bungie should fucking kill themselves. I'm bored. There's too much of a grind. Yada yada yada.
3 months later, new content.
Holy shit! It's new content.
All aboard the hype
guys.
train. Yeah,
Got it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Destiny is one of those fan bases that it's just this for 10 years.
It sure was.
Man, oh man, as Matt can attest as a fan of Overwatch, it's exhausting.
It's so exhausting. Oh my God, it's exhausting.
Yeah. Now this has been as early as Destiny's launch, because that's exactly what happened when the game came out. It was hype, and then famously and very fairly so, people started to pretty quickly pick at the light coat of paint that had been kind of surface level covered over the game. Because in reality, everyone was promised this like hugely sprawling space opera. And it really kind of, the original Destiny really kind of came down to, we have Disney Star Wars at home.
Well, and this was more or less hot on the tails of Skyrim's promising of like endless quests. And so like
1000%.
Everyone, the hype cycle had died. The wide as the ocean, deep as a puddle meme had started going around for Skyrim, and this was the next game. People learned like, hey, endless content does not mean endless great content.
Endless, exactly. Like you're just not going to get a consistent experience every time.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole point of the grind, right?
Yep.
And going back to the lore bit, I think a lot of people were obviously expecting the deep and complicated world of Halo, but again, that wasn't built in Halo 1.
Right.
Like we had Space Triangle or Space Circle and alien Catholics. Like that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, am I wrong?
These are things we can say because Todd's not here.
that Space Circle, that instead of Space Pyramid, which we're going to talk about.
Look, if you're doing space opera, Space Catholics is not a bad not a bad thing to drop into your setting.
Write that down for later. So again, like that stuff builds over time, right? And that's the exact same thing that happens with Destiny. Okay, so game launches, back and forth, the hype comes down. I would say they go through about 2 story expansions before things really start to change. And this is going to be consistent with Destiny 2 as well. So we get after the launch, we get a few months later, we get the first expansion called The Dark Below, followed by The Howls of Wolves. And it's not really until 2015 with The Taken King, the gas really starts to go. And I think The Taken King is considered to be one of the first real highs of Destiny. After The Taken King, we get Rise of Iron. And that's really it. There are 4 expansions to Destiny. By the time Rise of Iron comes out, it's 2016. It's already been announced that Destiny 2 is coming. Now, here's the thing with Destiny 2.
Did they find all of George R.R. Martin's discarded titles for his books and name their expansions off of that list?
Brother, I got so many more titles coming. So the interesting thing about Destiny 2 is Bungie came out and said, like, hey, I remember I told you guys about Final Fantasy 14 and how they basically like threw a comet at the game and blew it up to start again. That's kind of what Destiny did. They were like, okay, we've got new console generation coming up. There's a lot of problems with Destiny. We're going to fix it all. We're basically blowing up Destiny and we're starting again. And that's kind of what they did. So Destiny 2 was always intended to be a redo. And it's not a retcon per se, like FF14 was. It's a continuation of the story, but it's like intended to be like, we're going to start you back from level 1. You're not going to, your account on Destiny is gone for the same reason why Kyle can't go back and play his physical copy of Destiny 1.
Man, what must this be like? He says in Overwatch 2.
Yeah, Matt, exactly. So on September 6, 2017, Destiny 2 released on PS4, Xbox One, and for the first time on PC as well. Now, that's important for later. Sequel, even more hype than the original. It's the greatest thing ever. It's better than sliced bread. We get like 1.2 million players playing concurrently on the first day it launches. This is a huge fucking launch. And then a week later, everyone was like, this game fucking sucks. Go ahead.
To build off this, if I remember correctly, part of that was that Destiny 1 and all its expansions never got a worse critical rating than like,
yeah,
if you don't like loops, stay away from this game.
They were all IGN 7 out of 10.
Yep, exactly.
Or above.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll throw a couple other stats at you. Really what it boils down to is Destiny 2 was created with the intention of bringing in more people. And that is the business model of a forever game, right? Like you are constantly churning new players because new players are going to buy expansions, they're going to buy content, they're going to buy level up stuff to get to end game, right? Like that's where the money is. It just is. And you're going to have your dedicated player base, but they're dedicated. And what pissed a lot of people off was Destiny 2 did the thing where the beginning of, and we'll talk about the lore, but the story makes up a reason why you lose all your powers. It does the Metroid thing. And you lose all your powers and you got to start over again. But because Destiny 2 built the whole like function, like the game from the ground up, it took away a lot of the customization. If you've ever played Mass Effect, the difference between Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2, pretty big. It takes away all of the RPG-ness, all of the like menuing, a lot of the like tweaky things that you can do, and really streamlines it for new players, which means that everyone who hadn't played Destiny 1 before, like this guy, is like, this is great, I love it. But all the Destiny 1 people are like, you took away all my toys.
Where's all the stuff I liked? Yeah.
Where's all the stuff that I like? And neither of those two things are wrong, right? Like that's just, your experience. And that's why, so kind of add on top of like Destiny 2 had actually had some problems. Like the character, like your characters just moved real slow for some reason. They also like the original game allowed you to have what's called a primary weapon, a secondary weapon, and a heavy weapon, which is, again, just like more and more firepower.
Sure.
Whereas the new game locked you into just 2 primary weapons, which are basically like a pistol and a rifle, which is not fun.
Nah, that's lame.
Yeah. And a couple, a myriad of other things like that. So they had made those improvements over time, but there was some real genuine feedback here. But things as they do move along. The game launched, still very, very successful launch. Similar to Destiny 1, we got 2 expansions fairly quickly after launch that were kind of a fart in the wind. We get Curse of Osiris and Warmind. And these are fine. They're, slight story expansions. And this is just like a little bit more drip feed content across the next 6 months. By Warmind, Destiny 2 had quickly taken a nosedive and found itself on like critical care life support. So now we enter Destiny 2 Forsaken. This is the first like real legitimate expansion pack. This is Destiny moving from a like DLC model to a World of Warcraft. We're going to build a new game each time kind of model. Forsaken takes all of the feedback and is like, here's some of your tools back. We're going to make you faster. We're going to give you your weapons. We're going to make you feel like you are John Destiny, the hero of Destiny, among other things, which we'll get to story-wise. So we get Forsaken. Everyone's back. Hell yeah, Destiny's the best game ever. And after Forsaken, Bungie would then forever change how they do content. Like I said, prior to that, it was all DLC expansions. Following Forsaken, we see what's called the season model. So every major expansion has 4 like mini episodes, basically. Now, this is what a lot of MMOs do, Final Fantasy XIV included. Whereas you have the base expansion for full retail price and then small little episodic patches that kind of string the story along and to get you to the next major expansion. Destiny also does season passes, ding. And each season has a season pass. And there's, so each season becomes its own like little kind of isolated, grindy event. Again, just things to keep people invested. But it's like, it's all kind of woven together with little like lore drip feeds or like, oh, while we resolve this other thing, we got to go to Mars and figure out this other thing in the meantime. Like that kind of episodic. You get it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get into a lot of the episodes because there are a lot. But after Forsaken, it's 2019, we get the next major campaign expansion, Shadowkeep. With Shadowkeep comes the news that Destiny 2 is going free to play.
Ooh.
Now, this is where Destiny sits today. So the business model of Destiny 2 is you can go and download Destiny 2 and just play it. It's free to play. You're going to be locked out of a lot of content, but if you want to just like play with your friends and do, like public events and just kind of dick around, you can do that. You can do some of the raids, you could do some of the like light events, but if you want to jump into the story, you need to buy that particular expansion. And previous expansions are like 50% off. They're like $30 usually. So like whatever. So it's not a terrible system. I think even for free to play, you can do a lot of things. You can go in and grind your dailies. You can get a lot of gameplay for never spending $1, but you're certainly not going to get the full experience. In November of 2020, a few things were happening in the world. Among those things, Beyond Light came out. That's the next major story expansion. That's the one that I played. That's the one when I started playing Destiny pretty religiously. Along with Beyond Light came the introduction of the Vault. Now, this is probably the most divisive thing about Destiny is Destiny vaults its older content. So in 2020, it was announced that base Destiny 2, as well as the first 2 expansions, were basically being taken offline and were virtually inaccessible. So that now means as of 2020, you can't play the original Destiny, nor can you play the original Destiny 2 base story. You start the game, and like basically what they did is they built a new, it's called a new light campaign, which is totally free. It's a mini campaign. It's a tutorial campaign. And It's basically like built to replace the beginning of Destiny 1 in the old Russia Cosmodrome. And then you could go back and play Forsaken if you want, but as time goes on, they would continue to vault those older expansions. So right today, we are sitting in the most recent expansion, the Final Shape. If you log on to Destiny for the first time today, you will have access to 3 expansions, including the current one, and that's it.
It's the Disney model, the pre-Disney Plus Disney model.
Pretty much.
Yep.
And this is not a popular thing. The reason why they do it is so that Destiny isn't 7,000 gigabytes to download, frankly. They've also said, like, look, we get that this is unpopular. We literally can't, like, this game is 10 years old. Like, we literally can't.
Yeah.
We don't have the server space to hold all this stuff.
We don't have the server space. It's probably easier to balance this way.
Yeah.
Too.
Yes, exactly.
It
makes sense. It's how it works.
It's how it works.
Yeah.
It's how it works. So post-COVID, we get the Witch Queen, which is considered to be the best expansion, which we will talk about. That's early 22. And then 1 year later, we get Lightfall, which was intended to set up the final climactic battle. So Lightfall is our Infinity War. And that leads us into the Final Shape, which is the current expansion and the official end of Destiny's entire 10-year story arc, which we will cover in perpetuity very soon.
Is that because they're going to do Desta 3, or are we just done?
We don't know.
Oh, okay.
It is possible that we get a Desta 3. It's possible that they just do a new story arc. That's what World of Warcraft did. That's what FF14 is doing. We actually don't know yet, and we'll get into it.
Cool.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to talk about what is it like to play Destiny. So when you boot up the game for the first time, you're given the option of one of 3 classes. You got the Titan, the Hunter, and the Warlock.
You sound like
Does
a
anybody
dare
want to
officer right now.
Does anybody want to take a guess in which 3 archetypes Titan, Hunter, and Warlock connect to?
Titan's your heavy. Warlock's your
support.
I was gonna say range DPS, and then
Both are correct.
Hunter was my guess for support. So Hunter's your
DPS.
Yep.
Okay.
This is the fighter rogue wizard model, the tank DPS and support model. Warlock is both DPS and support. So yeah, you got it.
Cool.
Titans are tanks because their whole thing is they use shields to block a bunch of damage. They have the most close combat. Hunters they've got like a unique dodge, and then they are the most, like, if you want to play snipers, if you want to play quick fight, fast little characters, you do that. And then Warlock uses space magic. Easy.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. Now, off the bat, each of those 3 classes can then kind of branch into a total of 3 subclasses. Now, it's not like how D&D works where they're all the same subclasses. They're all different variations of what's called Void, Arc, and Solar. Those words mean nothing. Void is gravity magic, Arc is lightning magic, and Solar is fire magic.
Cool.
Neat.
Yeah, very. And each of those subclasses will augment abilities based on the class that they're based on. I play, for example, Void Warlock, which means I throw a bunch of just like gravity bombs and black holes, and it fucking rips. Arc Warlock is your space Sith. You'd shoot lightning from your fingertips. Whereas if you play Arc Rogue, you fire a bunch of like lightning aspected knives.
Oh,
okay.
Or you can like or if you play Void Warlock, you can like Nightcrawler around.
Oh, okay.
Very cool.
Okay.
All of the abilities are very cool. They feel really good. Every class gets a grenade ability. So you don't have grenades. You have like my grenade for my Void Warlock is a black hole. So it just like sucks like a singularity that sucks everything in.
Sure.
You get a melee ability which charges up. So if your melee is fully charged, you'll like shoot fire or lightning out of your hands or something. And then you get a class ability. My class ability for Warlocks, every Warlock has the same class ability. I can do like a little energy field. And that is where like I can either heal or buff. I can heal myself as well and like do extra damage and all that kind of stuff.
That's cool. It's almost more like an arcade model where like each character has the same move set, just flavored differently. I like that.
Very similar.
Yeah, the bit I played, very on point, very apt.
It helps because it kind of alleviates the need of a meta.
Yeah, totally.
Because like the thing that sucks about playing like games like World of Warcraft is like, well, you have to be this class. Like, everything is like, everything kind of is really, really balanced to the point where like, do you want to throw blue or red?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, and there's a kind of a freeing in that because it is just like really flavor. So outside of the abilities, Destiny is just very much a looter shooter, just like we talked about with Borderlands. Like it is blow shit up, click heads, get guns. And guns are both the economy and the reward of Destiny. I mentioned before, you get 3 guns. You have a primary weapon, which is unlimited ammo. So that's your major weapon. It's your main weapon. That is, and primary weapons can come in the form of pistols, rifles, shotguns, like whatever. Like primary is an ammo type, not a gun type. You get secondary, which is just like plus up, usually like grenade launchers, some shotguns, maybe a sniper rifle. That stuff with limited ammo. And then your heavies, which are like rocket launchers, machine guns, stuff you're going to take down bosses with. And you can grind for epics and legendaries of all 3 of those, in addition to a ton of gear. Again, it's one of those games. Now, the game is primarily PvE, player versus environment, but there is like a pretty big PvP, player versus player environment. So you can also play the game entirely single player. It's definitely like a lesser experience. The game is meant to be multiplayer. But you can team up there are 3-man strikes. I used the word fire team earlier. A fire team is a word in the game that's 3 people. That's your fire team. All of the PvE content is fire teams of 3. So you get strikes and what are the other ones? Dungeons, and then raids are like the most challenging. There's also Gambit, which is like PvE and PvP. It's 2 teams of 4 race to fight a boss, basically.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then there's just the Crucible, which is just straight up deathmatch for all you PvP freaks.
And is that, when you were saying 3-person strike team, is that like always tank support damage, or can you mix that class up?
You can build whatever you want.
That's cool.
Yeah, because everybody does different variations of things. Like I play my Warlock like a tank. Because I can set down my healing rift, and every time I shoot something, I absorb damage or I absorb health. So like I can just stand in the middle, pop my rift, and just like take all the hits. So there's a lot of ways to like do a bunch of different tasks. So to summarize this, I've said this before and I will continue to say it again. Destiny 2, in my experience, is the best modern first-person shooter, hands down. If you are the kind of person that likes campaign shooters like Halo or Half-Life or Titanfall, or if you just enjoy games like the chaos of Borderlands, right? Like I go download this game. It will, if anything else, do the tutorial, get 5 to 10 hours of free content out of it, click some heads and uninstall it and save yourself the headache. But it's a very fun, very tight game to play. Now, what isn't tight is the story.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
I have to take off my sweatshirt because I am sweating.
He's so excited.
He's wet for Destiny.
He can't keep the fluids in him.
It's a moist man.
Let's get into it. The year is 2014. A strange anomaly is showing odd activity on Mars, so a coalition between the US, China, and Russia each send an astronaut to investigate. And when they arrive, they discover this massive orb floating right above the planet's surface. This would become known as the Traveler. So let's open up that image library and look at image 1. We got a space circle, guys!
Oh boy.
I'm going to ponder this orb so hard.
This orb is just begging to be pondered.
You're going to spend 10 years pondering this fucking space orb.
Ponder the orb!
The Traveler is the most important thing in Destiny by a mile.
Sure.
Cool.
Giant moon orb. I'm not
Right?
I can't argue with that being very important.
Yeah. Get ready for me to say the Traveler 1,000 times. So the Traveler arrived in the Sol system and it changed everything. So Destiny, the original Destiny is very funny because it shows you in 2014, it says present day. And then it's like 1,000,000 years later. Like, okay, thanks, Destiny. Good job, Destiny.
That's really
Yeah.
funny.
So the Traveler, no one really knows why or how, but the Traveler's whole thing is it goes from planet to planet and terraforms planets. And that's what it did on Sol. So the original Destiny, like there's a video of it creating rain on Mars. And that's the story here is the Traveler goes from planet to planet. It creates water on Mars. It creates oxygen on Venus, regulates temperatures on Mercury, et cetera, et cetera. It allows us to start
Terraforming. Colonizing.
colonizing.
Colonizing, yeah.
So this jump starts humanity into a long and prosperous capital G golden age. Humanity goes out and colonizes all the planets surrounding Earth. They build empires. They develop amazing technologies. There's something about humans lived 3 times as longer. I don't know why or how, but sure. And this is all under the capital L light of the Traveler. Light is both an energy, a form, a religion, and a force in this universe.
Boy, here we go.
Do you want to guess what its equal and opposite is?
Dark, shadow, void.
It's darkness, baby.
Oh, even better.
We gotta fight the powers of darkness. Boop, boop, boop. And one day, as all things do, that golden age ended. And it was because of an ancient evil led by, say it with me, the forces of darkness. It's when the Fire Nation attacked. It's the forces of darkness show up to chase the Traveler chasing the Traveler from outside of the Sol system. And the forces of darkness nearly obliterate humanity in a matter of seconds. The way that they do that is like a myriad of things. One of the situations, like they manipulate gravity to like flood cities and basically just like puncture holes into entire civilizations. Like this is an apocalypse across the galaxy in a matter of seconds. And this is known as the collapse, capital C collapse.
All right.
However, humanity cannot be snuffed out that easily, Matt. No, this is not a complete end for humanity. This is, in fact, a beginning. In a last resort effort, this Traveler stood its ground and said, no, I'm going to protect humanity. I'm going to fight a bit against the darkness. And it used the last of its life force to repel back the invaders. In a final act of protection, it creates thousands of little robots. They're called ghosts. These are tiny synthetic beings that are made of pure light.
Capital L light.
Capital L light.
Now you're getting it.
Because they are robots. They are not just orbs of light. Go on.
Correct. No, you guys are getting it. I love this. From there, the Traveler would go on dormant, hovering in its final resting place above Earth. And image 2, we get one of the ghosts, which is our ghost, which we will talk about. Now, the ghosts traveled to Earth and surrounding planets and started resurrecting select humans, imbuing them with the power of light. So this is how humanity, like, there are some survivors, but pretty much people are like completely wiped out. So the ghosts come and actually like find the bones. The bones are their money, and they resurrect a bunch of people. And now people start waking up all over the solar system and suddenly have amazing strength and vitality and can wield space magic. Yay!
Cool.
Yeah. Further, these what would be called light bringers are basically immortal because they have a little ghost that, like, whenever they die, they can just be resurrected.
Oh, cool.
And now we have our video game ass reason why you can just keep spawning and respawning.
Yeah, all right. I was going to say, I think when you say it in plain words out of context of a video game, it sounds pretty terrible and a lot like necromancy. But when you say it
when
like
you
it's a
make
video
it
game,
a video
thing,
game mechanic,
Yeah.
it's
they're just
better.
they're just respawning. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
No one has to constantly relive thousands of deaths horrifyingly.
yeah,
Flashback to our Emesis Blue flavor text for the freaks. Anyway,
Yeah, man. Holy shit, Emesis Blue is a thing. So, following the collapse, the clustered survivors and these newly formed Lightbringers are entering a dark age. And this dark age is just bands of marauders riding the wastelands, killing and pirating and looting over scraps found from the former golden age. So humanity's got to get its shit together. Part of what causes this dark age is other alien factions that are following the traveler start to arrive in Sol. And they're also raiding. They see that, like, hey, it's time. It's the getting's good here on Sol. Get on here. Get on it. So all these aliens start to show up and are just like just murdering people left and right. So people eventually begin to unite and form a civilization that lives directly under the light of the traveler. They form the last city, which is the one and only city that exists in Destiny forever and always.
we didn't want to make too many city assets, so this is the only one.
Yeah. There's one city. That's it.
Here's the canonical reason for it.
Yep. So the last city lives on Earth, probably in California. I don't know. Who cares? and it's basically like operates as the base of humanity. But there are other civilizations, which we will get to. Lightbringers defending the last city eventually become known as Guardians, and they form their own kind of Avengers team-up group that they call the Vanguard. So these are our good guys, capital G, capital G. I don't want to call them the Space Cops because that feels shitty. They're the Avengers.
Space Marines, is that better?
I don't think it is.
Okay,
because that's different. That's Warhammer. That's legally distinct.
Space, nope. Green
Space
Lanterns
Militia can't be it.
They're Space Lanterns. They're Space Green Lanterns.
The Green
which are
Lanterns already space.
They're
lanterns.
already in space, and I think we called the Green Lantern Space Cops anyway. So
Yeah.
That's true. We did. Space Lantern is very ATM machine, I guess. Now, pretty much up to that is the lore that was set up for Destiny 1, right? Like that was it. That was the like Halo version of like big circle in the sky and it's space Catholics. So obviously since that time, Bungie has added so much more, but this is what we knew in 2014. Now, something about me is when I go and look at lore videos, it's a personal pet peeve of mine. Like I hate when people are like, okay, the complete timeline of blank, because it's always like, here's a bunch of stuff that was retconned later that you have no context for.
Yeah, right.
So the way that I like to tell these stories, something like this, that it's convoluted as Destiny, is like, I'm going to give you the baseline first, and then we'll go back and I'll share with you what was retconned and recontextualized.
Sure.
So that's all you need to know for now for Destiny 1. Taking a quick beat, let's talk about some of the factions within the Sol system. Now, these main factions are going to carry on through to Destiny 2. So all of these people are very important, very relevant. First up, most least important, human-ass humans. They're just that. They're humans. They are descendants of humanity that were nearly brought to extinction in the collapse or were brought to extinction and brought back as guardians. I don't have an image for that because they're humans.
They're humans.
You get it.
Yeah.
You know, we should all know what a human looks like.
There are two offshoot species to humanity that are playable in the game. So there are actually 3 playable species. So there's humans. Again, you get it. The second one is a group called Exos. Now, during the Golden Age, we hear about a man named Clovis Bray. Think like an evil variation of Walt Disney and Elon Musk.
Yeah.
But like, not an idiot, but like an evil genius.
I think you put an extra word in there.
I did. It was an ATM machine. Kind of like a smarter Elon Musk, you know?
Oh, okay.
Clovis Bray develops this being called exomines, or exos for short. These were built as... Do you guys remember we talked about Near?
No,
Yeah.
I wasn't on that episode.
Oh, you weren't. Kyle does. You remember how like in Near, they was like, we're going to implant consciousnesses in androids. That's what exos are.
Oh, okay.
They're literally just like, he took a bunch of consciousness and implanted them in robots, and they're just robot people.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah. Image 3, that's an exo.
I mean, that looks really cool.
Yeah, they look dope
Yeah.
as hell.
Yeah.
And you can play an exo. That's a playable race.
Neat.
Nice.
Very. Another species that comes out of this is actually during the events of the collapse. There was a passenger vessel that was carrying like 40,000 or so, 40K, if you will, of people. This vessel was actually caught in like a black hole type anomaly. And through yada, 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 the space vessel was caught in between the world of light and the world of dark.
Okay.
Yeah, man. So in this pocket dimension, all of their physical bodies were completely annihilated, but their life forces kind of remained in this like primordial spiritual ooze.
Yeah, okay. I watched
And-
Neon Genesis Evangelion. I get it.
Yeah, it's true instrumentation. And much like true instrumentation, but backwards true instrumentation, they kind of persisted in this like in-between realm of pure possibility. Stay with me. So these survivors, like, they awoke in a pocket dimension with pale blue skin and luminescent eyes. And they did so because, I'm not kidding, they literally wished themselves alive. Because they lived in a pocket dimension of pure possibilities.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you it not, but okay.
So these people, these 40,000 people awoke in this weird dimension and just found that like, oh, we're different now. Also, we don't age. They kind of like transcended to become like kind of immortal demigods.
like Fae in the Feywild. I get
Yeah, sure.
Is this the space elves? Are these space elves?
They seem
They're
like
not
space
space elves.
Oh, okay.
I think that's probably the closest comparison, but they are human. So image 4
Sure.
are the awoken because they
I don't
awoke.
like that. I don't like that
Yeah,
very much.
it's not great.
No.
It sucks.
Are you telling me Destiny had woke in it in 2019? Andrew?
Shut up, Kyle. So the awoken actually live in this like side. So during the entirety of the Dark Age, they're like living in this like pretend dream dimension, and they eventually make their way back to the material realm, to Soul, and they're just like, "Hey, we're back now. What's up, guys?"
They became material girls.
I was
living
just
in
going
a
to say
material
they're
world.
living in a material world. Yeah. Hell yeah,
I like
dude.
that. So those are the 3 playable factions. Let's talk about the aliens, the bad guys. First up, we get Earth's biggest enemy that was created during the Dark Age. These are the Fallen. Image 5. The Fallen arrived. So this was kind of our first contact. These guys arrived on Earth very shortly after the collapse because they were literally chasing the light energy of the Traveler. They arrived in these like small bands of marauders and pirates, and that's what they are. They're a pirate civilization. They go from planet to planet and they pillage. They revere technology. They worship the Traveler. They call it their great machine. They are the closest analog to the Covenant.
Okay.
Yep.
That's the
Image
Covenant
6.
of Halo for anybody
Of
listening
Halo.
to this. That
Yeah.
The Space Catholics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Image 6, we've got the Hive. Now, the Hive fucking rule.
Hive fucking
these
rules.
These are these are zombie-like ghouls, closely, mostly aligned with the powers of darkness. These are your Necron from 40K.
Yeah.
These guys arrived on Earth's moon, and they just kind of developed their own like Temple of Doom underneath the surface of the moon.
Now, Andrew,
And-
is Temple of Doom what it's called in game, or is that a
No,
touch point for us?
That's a touch point
Here-
for Indiana Jones.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say this is a very specific reference, but I know we all watched this movie in a cabin a few weeks ago. They look like the mummies, specifically from the second Brendan Fraser mummy movie.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
The Hive are very cool. They all follow what's called the sword logic, which, stay with me, is a pact made with ancient worm gods that dictate they must feed on the life forms of other species and spread the encroaching darkness.
All right.
So
Great.
there's our Dune connection.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, sure. Now some of the most powerful hive leaders have the ability to create psychic pocket dimensions within the ascendant plane, which is kind of where the Awoken come from. So the ascendant plane is like the Feywild, or like the one that's darker, the Shadowfell. They're called, and they create these pocket dimensions called throne worlds. Basically, they're liches. Think of them as liches.
Got
Cool.
it.
Okay, cool. Space zombies, great. Now we have the Vex. This is image 7. They're the robots version. They're the Geth. They are AI bots. They are Legion. They are one, if not, but also many. They are a race of interconnected AI. There's always got to be one of them.
Yeah.
Kyle's face looks like he has a question.
I feel like I'm
Oh, I think I have the wrong order. Wait, pause.
okay. I was gonna say I think I'm lost.
Yeah.
Image, I didn't mark these down. My bad. Image 7, we've got the Cabal. That looks like, this should look like a big toad man that looks like he has third-degree burns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally
Yes.
any character from Star Wars.
Yes. This is our Grup Shadow.
Yeah, he sure is.
There are many Grup Shadows, but this one is mine.
This one is mine.
So we've got the Cabal. Now the Cabal are your Klingon, your Krogan analog for you Mass Effect fans. This is a warlike species of conquerors. They show up and they're like, we're going to go do army things and take over. They show up in Sol and they build a base of operations on Mars. That's kind of where they mostly hide out. We'll talk about them later. Next, we have the Vex. These are they're a group of super intelligent AI. They are of one mind. They are a hive. They are a legion.
They're
Hive. They are a hive.
the Cybermen, the Star Trek ones, the Borg.
The Borg.
Yeah.
A little less. So yeah,
Less
kind
Borg,
of.
less Borg, more Cybermen.
Yeah, more Cybermen. The Vex are funny because they're not like, they are warfaring. Like they want to wipe out all creation, but like their whole thing is like, our hive mind has run every simulation, and the reason for the end of the universe is organic life.
Sure.
Yeah, they did an Ultron. They're
Right.
Ultron.
Yeah, there is an Ultron, and they are not Ultron.
Okay,
There is a different
all right,
Ultron.
I'm back in. We're so back.
Remember I talked about the expansion Warmind?
Yeah.
That's Ultron.
Hell yeah.
All right.
No, the Vex are, the Vex showed up and they shut up shop in Mercury and Venus. Part of what kind of was a catalyst to a tech boom was humanity found a bunch of old relics of the Vex. So the Vex are just this like weird, no one really understands, like an ancient civilization of robots that are just like, they just show up sometimes. Like, hey, what's up?
Good. Neat.
Yeah.
Love it.
They, most notably about them is they kind of, their base of operations is this simulation that they built on Venus called the Vault of Glass. It is an infinite digital realm. It's a mirror maze that never ends.
All right.
Cool. And then we got our last sort of faction is in image 9, we've got the Taken. Now these are less of a species and more any creature that has been fully corrupted by capital D darkness. They are then like pulled, their brains are like pulled into the ascendant plane and their bodies are warped into these like mindless husks. They are the Heartless.
I was going to say they're the Heartless.
They kind of look like them too. They're not that
They are
far
the
off.
Heartless.
We're on the same
They
page.
sure are. All right. Questions. How are we doing so far?
I mean, you really set it up well with like, this is a high fantasy space opera. Nothing that you have said so far falls outside of any high fantasy space opera trope. It is literally all that.
It shouldn't. It probably shouldn't. Okay, so I'm going to quickly glaze over the story of Destiny 1. Again, there's not a lot here. Mostly the important stuff is just introducing some of the main cast and major names you're going to hear as we move on. So our story begins an unnamed ghost is scanning the detritus of the Russian Cosmodrome. This is the first level that Kyle played when he had Destiny 1 on PS3. Now, the Cosmodrome, mostly unimportant. It's an old aeronautics facility that was abandoned sometime after the collapse. The ghost ultimately finds what it's looking for, and it finds us and resurrects. Fuck. Jesus Christ.
Say it like
it brings us back to life.
No, say it like a medicine. It's resurrects.
Resurrects.
Yeah,
It resurrects. It Tyrannus resurrects. It brings us back to life as a newly minted guardian. Now, just like other guardians, it should be important to note, we have no memory of our life before becoming a guardian. And that's how we have it. That's how we are a silent protagonist with amnesia.
Good.
Cool.
Yay.
Ding.
Yeah.
So image 10 is just a screenshot taken from that opening cinematic of the ghost scanning a bunch of dead bodies.
I remember this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We make our way through the Cosmodrome in our tutorial level. We fight a bunch of waves of fallen raiders. We eventually get a ship. We take that ship to the tower. The tower is the HQ of the Vanguard. This is our Avengers of the world of the Last City. And there we meet some of the most important characters of Destiny. These are the key leaders of the Vanguard, i.e. the people that give us quests.
Cool.
So first off, image 11, we've got Zavala. Zavala is the head of the Vanguard. He's also, him and the next two people are also the class trainers. So they're meant to embody everything about that particular class.
Okay.
Sure.
Zavala is our Titan class trainer. He's a brick shithouse. Zavala is an Awoken. You can notice by the pale skin, the bright eyes. Zavala was among the first Guardians to establish and then subsequently defend the Last City during the Dark Age. So Zavala's been around for a while. He's one of the old guard. Zavala was originally voiced by Lance Reddick of The Wire fame. If you've got IMDb pulled up, you absolutely know who this person is.
Yeah.
Lance Reddick unfortunately died in 2023 and was now replaced by Keith David of season 6 of Community fame, among many other things.
Lance Reddick was in Fringe. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
He was
without looking, I'm almost certain.
I think that's my touchstone for that.
I think you're right.
I'm pretty sure you're right. Next up is fan favorite EXO Cade 6, image 12. This is Nathan Fillion.
Oh, cool. This guy rules. I like this guy.
This guy does rule. He's everyone's favorite. He's the comic relief. He's the cool space cowboy of the group. He is 1000% Nathan Fillion's character from Firefly.
We're all looking at the what's the race called? We're all looking at the robot with a gun, right?
Yep, robot with a gun.
Okay.
And that is the hunter trainer.
Good.
Following robot with a gun, we've got image 13 is Ikora Ray. She's our third and final trainer. She's the Warlock class trainer. And she's the only human of the three. And she's I really like Ikora. She's like very down to business, very serious. But she's also the spy master. So she's got like the most like unsavory connections of the Vanguard. Like Zavala is like very much like the true believer. He's very much like he is the cop. He's not a bad guy, but he is the cop. Ikora's like, no, like she's got her like web of people that she doesn't tell Zavala about because he would, clutch pearls about it. Ikora Ray is, like I said, she's the Warlock trainer. She's also voiced by Gina Torres, who was also in Firefly, among other things, including Suits. Any Suits fans out there? She's the owner of the firm in Suits.
This is the one for all the Suits fans.
There's got to be a few, statistically speaking.
It's the most watched show on Netflix or something, isn't it?
Yeah, of all time.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's because there's like
big Suits trivia.
It's because there's like 9 seasons.
And it is the M&Ms of TV.
It's the USA-est USA show.
It's the USA show that ever USA.
I thought that was White Collar.
White Collar could never.
I don't know that I knew there was a difference between White Collar and
White Collar's
and
the prequel, I'm
Suits.
pretty sure.
And I think the only show that gives this a run for its money for that title is probably Burn Notice. Burn Notice
Oh yeah,
was the previous
guys,
USA-ist show.
Unrelated, we need to do a USA character as welcome flavor text.
Oh boy.
that would be bananas. Okay, moving back to Destiny. Characters are also welcome here in Destiny, including next image 14. This is a character that we meet halfway through the game. So we go through a couple levels. We eventually learn of the Hive for the first time. The Hive are operating on the moon. They've got their Temple of Doom on the moon. And the Hive are planning an invasion of Earth. So we go to the moon. We fight through a bunch of Hive. We disrupt a ritual to drain the light from the Traveler. All things are good. Actually, just kidding, they're not. While there, we encounter a mysterious Exo who calls herself the Stranger and tells us, "Hey, great job, but there's an even bigger threat on Venus." Image 14 is our second robot cowboy. This is the Stranger. This person is voiced by Lauren Cohen, who Matt would remember from The Walking
The Walking Dead. Yeah, The Walking Dead, and I think at least 3 of its spinoffs.
I can't. Nope. The bit's not worth it. Go on. Cut that part out, Matt.
I'm not editing this.
Yeah, good. Maybe, hopefully Todd hears you. Maybe he won't.
Maybe you won't.
So through this exchange, we're also told that, like, hey, the Traveler is slowly dying. It's been slowly dying for a long time. Not only is it dormant, it's dying, and we got to fix it. So we, as the silent protagonist, are tasked with infiltrating the Black Garden, which is, I explained the Vault of Glass. It's kind of similar. This is this like manufactured reality that the Vex have created that's being used to siphon energy off the Traveler, basically. So we say, okay, or rather our ghost says okay, because we don't talk.
Was the Vault of Glass also the Vex?
Yes.
This is 2 Vex things. Okay.
This is 2 Vex things. 2 Vex, 2 Furious. So we travel to the Reef, which you guys know there's the asteroid belt between Mars and the outer planets, right? So in the collapse, a bunch of like space debris and broken ships kind of got tangled up in this asteroid belt. And this area became called the Reef. And it's literally just like a bunch of space junk out there with asteroids. Out there in the Reef, we meet Mara Sov, who is the Queen of the Awoken. So I will explain. So back whenever I told you all of the Awoken showed up in this like bit midway dimension, Mara Sov is the person who used her mind powers to create a new reality to give the Awoken bodies.
She's Elliot Page in Inception. That's a dumb joke, but maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. I get your connection.
Yeah,
there.
she beat the dream logic. Yes.
There we go.
So
we got there.
Mara Sov had then, as a result, becoming the first Awoken. She names herself as Queen of the Awoken. Everybody just like that.
Wait. The Awoke Queen.
The Awoke Queen. Okay. You're probably the first person to ever say that.
I'm sure. I'm literally no one else has ever said that ever.
Literally no one else. So after a few insurrections, the Awoken dealt with some shit, and they're like, okay, we're cool. So like everyone's cool with Mara Sov now. Great. So image 15 is Mara Sov. She rules. She's awesome.
I was going to say, if there's one thing I know about you, it's that you love an ice queen. And that's what she looks like.
Oh, baby. Hell yeah, brother. And then image 16 is her brother, Uldren Sov, who is vaguely sinister, but we don't know why yet.
Well, that hair tells me all I need to know.
Oh, yeah.
So in Act 2 of Destiny 1, we help out with some chores on the Reef to win Mara's favor. Eventually, she gives us more information about the Black Garden, where it's located, and the MacGuffin that we need to access it. Cool. So we do that. We kill a couple of key Vex and fallen lieutenants for said MacGuffin. We travel to Mars. We enter the Black Garden. But wait, we can't yet, because in front of the Black Garden, we are greeted by a Cabal army, and we've checked off all of the major factions at this point.
Hey.
So we fight the Cabal, we enter the garden, We then make our way through and we take out the soul progeny. This name doesn't matter. You can obliterate it from your brains.
Already gone.
This frees gone. Great. This frees the garden from Vex control, and it frees the traveler to begin to heal from the events of the collapse in the preceding years. Roll credits.
I have a question that I should have asked earlier. Is the traveler sentient?
Great question, Matt. We do not know.
Okay, got it.
The traveler. This is good. We should have gotten into this earlier. The traveler is, by all intents, an idiot god.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Insofar as that it's a big white orb. It's a big white orb that lives in the sky, and sometimes it moves, and sometimes it does nothing, and it doesn't speak. Part of the story of Destiny 1 that I didn't tell you is there's this character called the Speaker who's like, I speak for the traveler.
He's the Lorax.
Except it's revealed that he's not. He's just full of shit.
Yeah,
and then he gets exiled and he dies and it's fine.
I think that's how the Lorax ended. I don't know.
That's true. It wasn't where the Lorax also got stolen by a bunch of pyramid ships. So it's like the whole point of the traveler is like it's this presence, and for a while they revere it as a god, but like throughout the arc of the story are like, hey, what that traveler do?
What that traveler do?
What that orb do?
Yeah, it becomes more of a like, hey, why are we worshiping this orb? Why are we pondering this orb?
Exactly. And that's why I really like the turn that Destiny 2 makes, because again, like this story starts out much like Final Fantasy. This starts out as like the traveler is our god and he's imbued you as his agents with the power of light. And then throughout Destiny 2, it's like, hey guys, what's light? Like, what are we doing?
Should we be imbued with the power of light?
Yeah, is this good?
That's pretty fun. I like that.
Guys? Yeah,
it's very cool. It's a good storytelling approach, especially for something like this that is a forever game. Okay, so we've rolled credits on vanilla Destiny 1. Destiny 1 also, all these games have like end game stuff. Every expansion has an end game raid. Most of them are just like, again, like you go to this place and fight a big boss. Destiny 1, vanilla Destiny 1's raid is probably the most popular raid of all time. It is the Vault of Glass. So that's why I mentioned it earlier.
Sure.
This was like, we're going into the Vault of Glass. We're going into the infinite dimension. You take out a Vex leader whose name doesn't matter.
Cool.
Okay, so Destiny 1 had 2 expansions at first. In those first 2 expansions, we meet 2 major allies. The first is Eris Morn, who is our goth girlfriend. Eris Morn in Image 17 was part of a strike team that was sent to the moon. Remember the Temple of Doom in the moon? Eris Morn was sent to the moon to assassinate a major hive leader. Her and her team entered the Hellmouth and were quickly outmatched. They did not know what they were going into. Eris watched as her team were flayed alive in front of her. But she herself was somehow able to escape and then lived for years under the surface of the moon, surviving on like, I don't know, moon cockroaches. And only by the way of bones of a wish dragon was she able to stay alive. And because of that, her eyes were replaced with the 3 yellow dotted eyes of a hive person.
Okay.
Now, and Andrew survived for years under the surface of the moon by way of the bones of a wish dragon.
That is the sentence that I wrote.
Is doing a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of yada-ing there.
Oh, have I not talked about the wish dragons yet?
You have not talked about the wish dragons yet.
It's so weird. Let's put a pin in that.
All right.
Good.
So one thing I want to point out with Eris Morn is, do you see the black like liquid coming down her eyes?
Yeah, the black goop or mascara is running. Yeah.
Not quite. Eris Morn cries darkness.
Neat. Just like straight up capital D darkness.
Yeah, just like all the time.
Oh, cool.
Like it just pours out of her eye holes.
Sick, dude.
Rules. I love Eris Morn. Anyway.
Good.
So moving on, we've got the next person is Petra Venge, who is Mara Sov's fixer and her spy master on the reef, who is also awesome. Petra is Image 18. She was one of the few survivors of this huge battle between the Awoken Fleet and Oryx, aka the Taken King, who is the main bad guy in expansion 3, which we'll come back to.
I would just like to point out that Petravenge is on the same naming level as Savage Opress.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So Petra becomes our main contact for most of Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 for all things Awoken in the Reef. So cool. She speaks for Marisov. Great. So expansion 1, we avenge Eris Morn's team. We help in expansion 2, we help Petra take out a fallen leader. Great, we did it. The next big expansion, what's really important to talk about, is the Taken King. This is the third one. This is the one where we take on Oryx, who had rallied an army of Hive as part of this vendetta against the defeat of the Hive person we killed with Eris Morn on the moon. He calls himself the Taken King, and he harnesses the power of darkness to create an army of Taken, aka the Heartless. These are thralls completely under his control. We traverse the Ascendant Plane in that expansion, and we take him out. He's a major figure. He's going to come back. He is actually coming back literally right now in the latest expansion, but we're not going to go there. Finally, in D1's last expansion, we investigate and eliminate Siva, S-I-V-A. This is this type of nanotechnology that was developed in the Golden Age that we learned nearly wiped out the first generation of Guardians. And that in that expansion, it's really only important because we learn a lot about the backstory of like people like Zavala, the founding of the last city, and like the beginning of the Guardians. And that's Destiny 1, really. I mean, there's other things there, but they don't really matter. That's it. We're pretty much done. That's kind of it.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. So when we come back, I'm going to rewind the clock by about 3 billion years. And
that's a lot
we're going to talk. It's a lot of years. And we're going to talk about all of the lore that was inserted throughout Destiny 2's lifetime. So you guys get the full picture now that you know the factions and the proper nouns. And then we're going to speed run through Destiny 2. Because here's the thing. When you go through Destiny 2, it really like the story, it is literally like we go here and we kill that. We go here and we beat that. We go here and we find that. Most of the story of Destiny 2 is learning about the lore of Destiny 2.
Got it.
Okay.
So, everyone listening out there, stick with us. We're going to be right back. It's fine. It's fine. A little bit of light listening. This is light and breezy. We're definitely not going to talk about like a Jesus analog or a bunch of idiot Eldritch gods. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Hey guys, I found a new podcast and I want to tell you all about it. It's called Candy is Dandy.
Candy is Dandy. Candy is Dandy. Are you talking about Candy is Dandy, the world's only podcast devoted entirely to reviewing candy?
If he is, I think I've heard of that. Because in each episode, they pick a different candy and then they give its history and taste and review it on air.
You're going to love this. We talked about horses on our podcast before. They did an episode on Snickers and found out it was named after a horse. Horse content everywhere.
We do love a smattering of horse content. We also love that they found a connection between Butterfingers and the atomic bomb.
No way. You know, I heard that one time they tasted way too many peach rings with Carl Tart of Comedy Bang Bang.
If you love candy, then you're going to love Candy is Dandy.
I think so.
Hey, and listen, if you're trying to find Candy is Dandy, the Candy Review Podcast, it's anywhere that podcasts are found. Name a place where you listen to podcasts. It's there. It's there too. It's everywhere.
Candy is Dandy, the world's only candy review podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay. As I said before we cut to break, I'm going to rewind the clock. I'm going to go through the full timeline. Now that you know the main figures, the main hitters, the factions, all that stuff, I'm going to start way at the beginning of all of the lore that throughout Destiny 2's 8-year run was revealed in drip feed. So there's going to be a lot of new shit. But I promise you, I'm going to bring it all back and it's going to connect and it's going to make so much sense. I promise. I don't promise that. Okay. So as I said earlier, Destiny 1 did a lot of things right. Gameplay, awesome. World, really interesting. Story, people were very interested in the names and the factions and are like, well, I want to hear more about like, why are the Fallen the way that they are? And just felt like we weren't getting anything. It was just very, very wafer thin when you kind of peeled it back.
Sure.
So Destiny 2 changed all of that, and throughout all of its expansions, really did a good job of fleshing out this universe. And I don't know if it was always planned that way, but definitely like gave you a reason for everything. So let's do that now. Let's give you the reason for everything. And as we're going to begin, as all things do, with an ancient advanced civilization.
Yay!
Here we go.
So just get ready. Scroll down to image 19. It's right under Petra Venge. So this is a species known only as the Precursors. The Precursors were tall, vaguely humanoid beings. They unearthed an enormous white orb that was buried deep beneath their desert homeworld. Do you want to guess what that white orb was? I will give you one try.
It's the Traveler.
It's the Traveler.
Yay.
So the orb suddenly activated and transformed their desert wasteland into a lush paradise of green forest. Because of that, they called this entity the Gardener. Makes sense?
Huh.
Cool.
And the Precursors would officially become the first species to receive the Traveler's blessing. And that's important to note, the first species among many. And just like humanity, the Precursors were jettisoned into this period of prosperity. And they advanced to the point of hyperspeed space traveler and became, grew a civilization of their own. And eventually the Precursors started to get frustrated with their silent idiot god and began studying its capital L light energy. They eventually found, after researching light, remember I said light is both a force and a religion, they found that light actually isn't a religion. It's just an element. It's like fire or water. It is a completely chaotic and, more importantly, amoral force of energy.
Okay.
All right.
And in order to truly evolve, they would have to balance the energy of light with the energy of darkness and harness both equally.
Now,
as
it's
all
really
things
Star
should be.
Wars. Now we're really doing
Yep.
Star Wars.
Now we're really
We
Star
sure
Wars,
are.
isn't it?
Yep, we sure are. So they sought after an equal to the Gardener, which they called their winnower.
Ah.
And they found it in an artifact known as the Veil. And this may or may not look like a giant space onion.
It
Super does.
certainly doesn't not look like a giant space onion.
It's a big black space onion.
Or a space turnip.
Space turnip.
Maybe a
Yeah.
space turnip. Yeah. So this is the Veil. This is a thing that they found. I can't tell you how, but they did, and they communed with it. I can't tell you how, but they did.
Cool.
And
Cool.
They, after communing with the Veil, the Precursors learned about capital D darkness and learned how it balances light. And this is where I think this is cool, but also very silly. So light is the embodiment of chaotic creation. Light grows, light speeds up, and darkness stops.
It's like entropy to
Yes.
order. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Gotcha.
exactly. Darkness is also order in a not chaotic way. Yes.
Sure.
So darkness is also, light is of the physical space and darkness is of the mind.
Oh.
Darkness also represents not only like slowing and stopping, but control.
Darkness is of the mind is absolutely an emo song title.
Yeah. Or something a motivational coach says on TikTok.
Yeah, man. So with their new master, Darkness, this species attempts to merge the Veil with the Gardener to create the final shape of existence. They're just trying to transcend the universe. Except the Traveler wasn't down to clown and just got the F out. So, and this is the cycle of the world of Destiny. The Traveler leaves and takes the light with it.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, the Precursors are like, shit, now we have nothing.
Now we have all this darkness.
We got all this darkness and
with
nothing
no
to do
light,
with it.
with no light to balance it out. It's bad.
So it's bad. So because they couldn't balance it out, they turned completely to the darkness. Through, I'm not kidding, ritual sacrifice.
oh,
Well, I mean, if you're going to get
They-
into the darkness,
They did a genocide. as people are wont to do, they merge their entire civilization into one mega consciousness called the Witness. And they set off in a fleet of black pyramid ships to hunt down the Traveler and finally merge with it. And Image 21 is the Black Fleet.
See, Andrew, I thought the Darkness believed in a thing called love.
If you would just listen to the rhythm of my heart.
Incredible. So, yeah, man. So the Witness is a single being made up of the amalgam of the merged consciousnesses of an entire species that drink poison Kool-Aid and killed themselves.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah. Sick.
This is what the Heaven's Gate people thought was going to happen. More or
Yeah,
less.
this is what they tried to. Pretty much. So the Witness is our big bad, if you couldn't tell.
You don't say.
Yeah. So following the trail of the Traveler, the Witness, and this is going to be the cycle, is the Witness is just following the Traveler. Traveler enters a new place. The Witness eventually finds it. Traveler leaves.
And Witness is another big space orb.
The Witness is the Black Fleet of pyramids.
Oh, okay. All right.
The precursors.
The Black Fleet and the Witness are the same thing.
Let me break it down for you.
Hit me.
The precursors, that's this ancient civilization, right?
Yep.
They ritual suicide all of themselves.
Okay.
They turn themselves into one being called the Witness.
Got it. Like just he is Legion and he is many.
He is Prince, he is many.
Yeah, got it. Okay,
Got
cool.
it.
So the Witness operates the Black Fleet.
Is it
You get it.
just the Witness in the Black Fleet?
Sure is.
He doesn't have any like grunts.
Nope.
All
Not
right.
yet. He's got to build his army.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
sick.
getting there.
I'm there.
Yeah. Stop reading ahead. We're getting there.
Okay.
So while following the trail of the Traveler, the Witness encounters a dying planet called Lubrae. Lubrae had devolved from the Traveler's blessing because the Traveler had stopped in Lubrae, blessed them with its light, and then fled the planet. And then the planet devolved. Excuse me. The planet had devolved into a military dictatorship. There, the Witness communed with a warrior named Rulk. Rulk had been betrayed by his family, left for dead in some random chasm. And the Witness is like, hey, what up? I'm going to save you. But in response to that, I want you to be my Herald of Darkness, capital H, capital D. So Rulk was like, dope, love it. I'm going to go do a genocide now. And he did.
Seems like an appropriate thing for the Herald of Darkness to do.
Yeah.
Stands to reason. So Rulk kills everybody, everyone on Lubrae, and also accidentally destroyed one of the planet's two suns. Beans. Yeah. So Rulk, like in a moment of clarity, is like exiles himself because he's so ashamed of what he did because he's under an influence of the Witness. Yada yada yada. And the Witness is like, "Ha, I got ya. Come on in. You're gonna drive the pyramid, baby." So the Witness kind of pulls him in and brings him in as its first disciple. And Rulk would be effectively the mouthpiece through which the Witness enacts its will.
Okay.
Cool. So we're moving on.
We're moving.
Next destination, a gas giant called Fundament. Now, Fundament was home to a seafaring species known as the krill. The krill had arrived, very, very interesting. The krill had arrived from another planet, believe it or not, and had built a livable, if not tenuous, empire on the surface of Fundament. Now, this was all made possible by the Traveler, who had passed through, and in addition to terraforming it for the krill, had sealed away the ancient worm gods that lived deep below the planet's surface. You know how they're ancient worm gods under a planet of oceans?
You really buried the lead there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just protected the krill from the ancient worm gods. It's fine, no worries. It creates like a little baby traveler. It calls the Leviathan. not that important. But
It doesn't call it the little baby traveler.
The little baby traveler.
Little baby traveler. You know.
The little traveler. So Lil Traveler, aka the Leviathan, is kind of put in place to seal the worm gods. So Rolk shows up, and it's not a little orb, it's like a big snake monster. It doesn't matter. Rolk punches the Leviathan so hard it cripples its ribs.
Oh, little Trav.
Yeah, Lil Traveler's dead. So that's rough. And kind of breaks it open and goes on through and seeks counsel with the queen of the worm gods. And Rolk goes, "Hey, have you heard about my Lord and Savior, the Witness?"
Let me tell you about my Lord and Savior, the Darkness.
Yeah. So Rolk talks to this worm god and learns that they're actually a parasitic race and they're on the verge of collapse. So they aren't not symbiotes.
This is just Dune. Isn't this just Dune?
This kind of seems a lot like Dune.
It's Dune-esque. It's a little Dooney.
It's a little Dooney.
So Rolk's like, "Dope, I got you. There's a whole race of sea monkeys up on the surface. Do you want to take over their minds and be there and have them as your host?" And they say, "Yes, please."
Sure.
All right.
So, and then he says, "Great, you just have to sign here and pledge your allegiance to the darkness." Yeah.
Done.
Cool.
So fast forward a couple years or million years, I don't know. A husk of a worm washes up on the shores of Fundament's surface. It's found by a figure known as the Osmium King. This is the ruling emperor among the Krill. That's a cool name.
It's a cool name. Does he matter? Name. Do I need to remember that guy?
Not at all.
Sick. Okay, cool.
And I'll tell you why. Because the Osmium King goes crazy, kills a bunch of people, and starts this like basically civil war, a full-blown civil war between the Krill people, and most of them are wiped out. And in a last-ditch attempt to save their people, 3 of the Osmium King's daughters all traverse the deep together and go to meet with the worm gods. And they're like, "Dog, what do we do? Like we gotta." And the worm gods are like, "Okay, here's the deal. You let us invade your brains and you'll be saved and you'll be fine." And they did that. And they pledged to serve as the hosts of the worm gods to fuel the worm's undying hunger. These 3 sisters are then reborn as Xivu Arath, the god of war, Savathun, the witch queen, and Oryx, king of the hive. That last one
we know
maybe
that
tipped you
name.
off.
Yeah.
Because the 3 of them would then take the remaining worm larvae and convert the rest of the krill to reshape the people into the hive. And the hive would go on to serve as the attendants to the worm god and their murderous sword logic. Very fun. So image 22 is the 3 hive gods.
Andrew, are we going to get an explanation of sword logic eventually? Is that
Nope.
Is that like is that like gun kata or anything?
You can look it up on the wiki.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, we got to move on. We're jet setting through the trail of the traveler. So next up, the Witness finds itself in Reese. This is the homeworld of a race called the Elixni. Now, just as the planets before, the traveler builds the planet up.
Licks these nuts.
Yeah, man.
That was such a good like end of show middle name.
Yeah, he couldn't hold it.
I know. I've already got one of those.
So. That would have destroyed you trying to hold on to that for an hour.
Yeah, that would have eaten me alive from the
like
inside.
trying to hold a poop. Okay, the Elixni nuts is really good. So, just as before, the traveler rolls in, terraforms the planet, imbues the Elixni with its blessings of light. But specifically for Reese, what it does is it kind of creates this substance called ether that acts as their lifeblood. Like the Elixni have like really short lifespans, and ether becomes this all of a sudden. I mean, it's oxygen or gas. Like it's just like a thing that you need, and it just becomes this complete lifeblood that they rely on. They would also experience their own golden age. They evolved as scientists and technicians and scholars, as well as artists and poets. The cycle, as it does, began anew as the traveler saw the signs of the witness showing up and fled, and left the Elixni on their own to face the witness. Now, in past versions, the witness were just like converting people, like with the hive. They didn't destroy them completely, they just converted them. With the Elixni, the Black Fleet arrived and immediately triggered an apocalyptic event known as the Whirlwind. And this just completely decimated the Elixni, much like with humanity in the collapse. The surviving Elixni fled and just followed the trail of the traveler. So they all leave their planet. Reese is destroyed effectively. So now the traveler is gone, the Elixni are following it, and then the witness is following them. All three would eventually find the traveler dormant in its new home, the Sol System.
The moon.
Earth.
It's not on. Oh,
Earth.
it's on Earth. It's not on the moon yet.
The Elixni would arrive shortly thereafter, the collapse, to raid Earth and become known by the humans as the Fallen.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So let's pause. So let's rewind again. We find ourselves all the way back to 2014 on Earth, present day. So those astronauts on Mars, they find the traveler. The traveler activates and starts terraforming planets in Sol. Humanity gets its golden age, yada, 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 yada. A few major things come out of this period. Most famously was the aforementioned Clovis Bray and Clovis Bray Corporation. Clovis Bray is who developed the Exos. Clovis Bray did a bunch of other shit. But it's interesting to note, the collapse was actually not the first time humanity had experienced the witness in capital D darkness. Rather, we learned later that Clovis Bray had accidentally...
Did the JFK assassination?
That's what I was going to say.
No.
Oh, you son of a bitch. You beat me there.
I wish. The problem is that Destiny can't rewrite our history because everything starts in 2014.
Okay.
So they can't retcon to make Clovis Bray kill JFK.
Okay.
But man, oh man, if they would, if they could, they would have. I guarantee it. So Clovis Bray would have killed JFK. Instead, what Clovis Bray did was commune with the darkness without his knowing. And
meddle in the 2016 election.
Yeah, pretty much. So when he built the Exos in his secret lab on Jupiter's moon of Europa, he used pure darkness to build the Exos. So Exos are quite literally built with capital D darkness. It's fine. That never becomes a problem. That's not a bit. It's fine. It's just a fun side note that they never developed.
Okay.
Good.
He also builds an AI mainframe to house his own consciousness, where he would lead humanity for generations, years, decades, and thousands of years after his body would decay to dust. So much like Walt Disney would freeze himself, presumably, Clovis Bray tried to be immortal by building himself into his own AI consciousness.
All right.
Cool.
Neat.
Now, while Clovis Bray was developing the means to become immortal, the Clovis Bray Corp did the sci-fi thing and they built an Ultron.
Oh, sure.
Because we have to protect Earth from known alien threats. We have to build a suit of armor around the Earth.
Yep.
It's just the natural progression of things. So this Warmind artificial intelligence would be named Rasputin. Now, unbeknownst to most of the Bray Corporation, Clovis Bray was wringing his hands together saying, ha ha ha, I'm going to rewrite Rasputin to destroy the Traveler and take its place to be humanity's new god. That didn't work out very well for him.
Naming your robot Warmind AI after a guy famously associated with the fall of Russia.
Yeah, it's something.
Seems bad. Like, why?
Yeah.
No one in that first meeting was like,
Yeah.
could we pick someone besides
Well,
Rasputin?
Counterpoint, Kyle. Rasputin is also connected with the discovery of ibuprofen. So maybe
I don't
Maybe
see
there's a
how
good
that's
thing.
relevant to space warfare, but let's move on.
Yep. So we also learned later, there's a bunch of episodes with Rasputin. I'm going to be honest, they're not interesting. Rasputin is not an interesting point. The most cool thing is like they build an Ultron and it dies. So Rasputin, we find out later in the game that Rasputin actually predicted the collapse and was like, I'm going to get out of here and just shut itself off, which I find very funny.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
That is really good.
In addition to the Clovis Break Collective, another major org pops up called the Ishtar Collective. Now, this is a group, more of a holistic organization, nonprofit, dedicated to scientific discovery. And a lot of these people ultimately start studying artifacts of the Vex. So we see them connected to the Vault of Glass and all the other stuff that's happening, Vex shit on Venus. Now, during the collapse, a lot of the scientists of the collective were on board a vessel that was actually headed to Neptune. They were going to Neptune to make their own community with blackjack and hookers, and that vessel mysteriously disappeared. We will get to that later. Okay, Golden Age done, collapse happens. The Witness is here. So the biggest retcon is, okay, we're putting a face to this mysterious darkness that just showed up and obliterated humanity. No, it's the Witness. The Witness shows up and basically apocalypses humanity within a matter of minutes. However, the Traveler, as we already know, instead of fleeing, stands its ground. That sucks to say. And releases a huge pulse of energy that repels the Witness back. That's how humanity is able to survive. Except none of that happened. So the Witness weren't repelled. In reality, the Witness was tricked. The Witness was tricked to leave Sol. So the three Hive Queens. Remember, we've got Oryx, we've got the other one, Xivu Arath, and Savathun the Witch Queen. Savathun the Witch Queen is the most important of the three. Savathun eventually becomes like kind of our Magneto, if you know what I mean.
I don't. Can you be more specific?
Yeah, Magneto's a
that's
complicated character.
Well, she's a complicated character. What are you gonna say? She lives in a plastic cage. We'll get there. Calm down. Hold your horses. Stop reading ahead. Savathun, basically, her whole thing is she's like the sharpest minds among the Hive. Her unofficial title is Savathun the Trickster or the Betrayer.
Okay.
So, unlike her former sisters, unlike the other two Hive Lords, she's like not down to clown with the parasites. And at one point, she actually becomes aware that she's under control and slowly but surely enacts a plan to free herself from said control. My body is rejecting me. Todd, please cut this out. So, Savathun killed the Witness's disciple, who was not Rulk, it was another guy, doesn't matter. But killed the like lieutenant leading the onslaught of Sol. And she steals the veil. Remember the veil, the big space turnip?
Yeah.
She stole the turnip.
She stole the big space turnip.
That doesn't feel thievable. That feels too big to be thieved.
Stop asking questions.
Heard. Got it.
Space opera, Matt.
Space opera. It is much bigger. It is much smaller than the Traveler, but it is still very big.
Cool.
But it is not a planetoid.
Okay.
If that's helpful. So she steals the veil. She hides it away. Now, the Traveler does send out a big pulse of light, but that's really just to create the ghosts because, again, it's an idiot god, doesn't really do anything. So Savathun is really ironically the one that saved humanity. And Savathun's like a major antagonist, which is why that's ironic. I realize I didn't explain that. It's fine. So Savathun hides the veil deep within Neptune. And this leads the Witness to be like, WTF, what do we do now? Remember that Ishtar collective vessel that was headed to Neptune, right? Yeah. So that vessel crash lands on Neptune and finds the veil. Through the veil's power, they use it to mask themselves and basically hide away from the outside world. And over time, the descendants of this vessel build a colony and establish an entire city on Neptune called Neomuna, and it's cool and cyberpunk, and that's Image 23.
Neat. It is both cool and cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Lots of purples and blues.
It's Kamigawa, baby.
It is Kamigawa.
Yeah. So we'll get to that later. So collapse happens, apocalypse, scary. Earth is a mess of bandits just killing each other for scraps. We've got gangs of fallen pirates. We've also got rogue lightbearer warlords. Because here's the other thing, right? Like, if you awake in a desolate wasteland with god powers and space lightning, you're gonna kill people. Like, you're just gonna do it. You're gonna be a space pirate first.
Of course.
Just test it out.
Yeah, just to see how it feels.
Just to see how it feels. So that happens, and like for a while, light bearers are like the menace, the scourge of humanity.
Sure.
And then they start to organize and develop consciousness, and like, hey, we probably shouldn't be dickheads. So they collect themselves together. They start to be Avengers, and they start fighting off these fallen invaders. They ultimately start calling themselves Iron Lords. We've heard that term before. That is the kind of proto-Vanguard, proto-Guardian collective.
Okay.
They also all die pretty gratuitously.
Sure. Yeah.
I was sitting here like, Iron Lords is from another game. I've heard Iron Lords. I was thinking of the Brotherhood of Steel from Fallout.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not dissimilar.
Yeah.
Not dissimilar
Yeah.
in like in vibe.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Awoken. We talked about the Awoken a little bit. They live in a pocket dimension. Marasov built like a fake dream world and gave them bodies. This pocket dimension was called the Distributary. Sorry, that was hard to parse out. I told you too, at one point there was an insurrection, a civil war, yada, yada, yada. Mara led her followers out of the Distributary, which was about, at this point, like 10,000 or so Awoken. And they entered back into physical space. Now, at this point, a lot of the Awoken were like, sorry, what? There was an apocalypse? What? Huh?
Excuse me?
Yeah. And they were like, again, it was like waking up in a coma, except it's been 400,000 years and everything that you know and love has been gone for a very, very long time. But also, like, the human race is on the verge of extinction. So a lot of the Awoken actually head back to Earth to try and like rebuild. Some of the most faithful stay in the reef with Mara, and they kind of set up camp there. So you've got Awoken in the reef, and then a lot of Awoken that go back to Earth. That's why Zavala is an Awoken and is also on Earth.
Mm.
So that happens. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Mara's brother Uldron. Oh, sorry. At some point, so Mara's like, hey, we got to set up a civilization here in the reef. We're going to need resources. We're going to need firepower. So Mara sends her brother Uldron to go find anything. And what Uldron finds is a dragon, a space dragon.
Oh, neat. Does it grant wishes?
Oh, neat. It grants wishes.
There it is. There's the wish dragon.
Two questions. One, Uldron is the vaguely sinister one from earlier.
With the flippy hair. Yes. Yeah.
Two,
with the flippy hair.
Do I need to collect 7 magical objects of some kind to make a wish to this dragon?
Good question.
No, really good question, Kyle. So this is important. This is, if you take one thing from this 2 hours, it's this.
This is not Dragon Ball Z.
This is not Dragon Ball Z. Ahamkara, or the official title of these wish dragons, Ahamkara. Ahamkara are not DBZ wish dragons. They are monkey's paw wish dragons.
Oh, that's more interesting.
They're genies.
It is more interesting. Yes, they are Jinn. They are like,
that's cool.
They are old world genies.
I like that way more than
it actually whips ass.
Bring 7 balls to me and I'll bring Krillin back to life.
Hell yeah. Because that is that's the big joke. No, I really like the Ahamkara, the idea of the Ahamkara, because that's exactly what they do is they grant wishes in spite of the user.
Good.
Which is very fun.
Cool.
So we meet Riven. Well, we don't. Uldron meets Riven. Uldron meets Riven. So the whole deal with the Ahamkara is they have lived, again, they're ancient space dragons, yada, yada, yada. But they are, most of them are, because they've lived for so long and they're so tired of granting wishes, they enter in these like Faustian bargains with their victims, effectively. So Aldrin brings this Faustian wish dragon back to Mara, and Mara and Riven create an uneasy alliance because Mara Sov, she's smart, she's an ice queen, she doesn't take no shit, she's a good leader, so she understands to keep Riven at arm's length. But the two of them, so it's basically like, hey, I get your whole bit, love that energy. Here's the deal: you need a home. You're the last of the wish dragons. I need to build a civilization. What do you say? So they do that. So Riven helps the Awoken kind of build the key structures and shelters needed to start to protect the Awoken from external threats. What Riven also does is help Mara create a second pocket dimension. This second pocket dimension, because again, the Awoken can live in between. Think of the Awoken, they are the like yin and yang of light and dark energy. They are created literally within a black hole. So they are inside, they are like, because light equals physical, this is where light equals creation, dark equals mental, like psychic power.
Okay.
Through the power of darkness, they're able to perceive themselves, and then through the power of light, recreate themselves. So that's how that works.
Okay. That tracks.
That same logic is applied to the Dreaming City, which is Mara Sov's next pocket dimension. And she creates the Dreaming City as a sort of refuge for all Awoken. So Awoken people can just like go there and like take a nap or whatever.
Sweet.
Cool.
Cool.
She also hides Riven away in the Dreaming City. And fast forward a little bit. So Destiny 1 happens. The Taken King attacks. During the war with the Taken King, Savathun infiltrates the Dreaming City and strikes a deal with Riven and puts her under her influence. And this is going to set in motion many events of Destiny 2.
Okay.
I'm going to pause there. Okay. So we are caught up. We're going to go back to Destiny 2. I want questions and comments. What do you got?
I mean, look, I'm not going to lie to you. I think at some point I probably lost track a little bit of the proper nouns, but like,
yeah, but
in
otherwise,
general, I get it.
Yeah,
It's a space opera.
Space opera.
Star Wars did 9 of these. 3 of them were okay. Like I've done this before.
Okay, maybe even 4 of them.
Maybe even 4 of them. Yeah, I'm here.
Cool.
Like Matt said, a little, some proper nouns.
Yeah, it gets a little noun soup.
It's a little soupy.
I would need the proper noun section of the test to be like a fill in the blank with a
an open book
with a word bank, but like otherwise, I'm here.
Yeah, this is really niche, but Terry Bogard in Super Smash Brothers makes a sound when he does an attack that sounds a lot like Savathun, and that's what I think of every time you say it. Other than that, I don't really have any other comments here. Yeah.
I love that insight. Okay, Destiny 2. We're here. We finally made it. Destiny 2 opens with an explosive cinematic. We're coming back. We're coming back to the last city from patrol, and when a massive fleet of Cabal ships enter Earth's orbit. And among that massive fleet is a strange contraption that attaches itself to the Traveler. And we're like, oh shit, we rush to the tower to aid our friends. And as the contraption locks into place, each and every Guardian is immediately and suddenly decoupled from light itself. And the Cabal swings in and easily just breathes and takes over the tower and the city below. The big climax here is we're standing on top of the tower with all of our friends, Zavala and Cade 6 and Nikora. And we find ourselves face to face with the Cabal warlord, Dominus Gall. And this is Image 24.
Oh,
it's a cool name.
It's a cool
that
name.
That is a cool name.
And he this is Sparta kicks us off the tower, and our character, without the power of light, without the ability to resurrect, falls in just off a building.
Oh no!
And this is, and like credits. Like this is how Destiny reboots the whole system and says we're going to start again. So the first level of Destiny 2 is like you're literally fleeing the last city with no powers, and you're like running from the Cabal. We won't need to get into it. Eventually, we make it to a small civilization of nomadic humans. They're located in an area we call the European Dead Zone. And in the EDZ, we find a shard of the Traveler that's broken off. That is enough to help us regain our light and our space magic. Now we got to get the band back together. Yeah. So most of Destiny 2 is going to the new locations that Bungie has highlighted for us in the universe and finding our friends and getting it all going again.
All right.
So we first find Zavala on Saturn's moon Titan. We find Cade 6 on a centaur, which is like a small planetoid outside of Saturn called Nessus. Nessus has been completely digitized by the Vex. And then we find Ikora on Io, which is another moon of a planet I can't remember. It might be Mars.
Io
question me.
Is
Jupiter? Yeah, I think it's a
Thank you. It's Jupiter. I appreciate all of you. So we travel up. We learn of the Cabal's super weapon called the Almighty. This has the power to blow up the sun.
Uh-oh.
Damn. Uh-oh. So we board the Almighty and we sabotage the weapon. And then we head back to Earth to confront Gaul and reclaim our home. And in the final battle, it's us versus Dominus Gaul. Gaul harnesses the power of light himself. That's the light that's being siphoned off the Traveler. And then he gets his own space wizard powers, which is like doing the video game thing of the final boss having the same powers as you.
Yeah.
Which I always love that trope. That's one of my favorite tropes. Fortunately, good news is that's not enough to stop us, the special boy with special space wizard powers. We kill Gaul. Gaul then reemerges as a gigantic projection of light that's like large enough, like the same size as the Traveler, and is like, "Ha, Traveler, I finally beat you. I'm light now. What up, bitch?" and he's like, "Ha ha ha! I've achieved godhood. Nanner. And then the Traveler lights up and breaks the contraption, breaks its bonds, and just zaps him with a space laser. Cool.
Good.
Yeah.
The Traveler finally wakes up and emits this huge pulse of light throughout the galaxy, thereby changing the galaxy forever.
Oh.
i.e., we've built a new game.
It's a retcon beam. A retcon
Yup.
wave.
It's kind of a retcon beam. So that is how Destiny 2 rebooted itself.
That's how we're doing Mortal Kombat 1 for a third time.
It's not unlike that for sure. And in the post credits, we see a series of black pyramid ships clock that shockwave of light and turn around and start heading forward to Sol, because it's the witness. Great. Following Destiny 2's base campaign, we get 2 of those episodic expansions. They elaborated on Ultron, on Clovis Bray's granddaughter. They also introduced Osiris, who is a guardian who was living in exile that has dedicated his life to studying the Vex on Mercury. Osiris is image 25. He is a person that is around. That's not that important for this discussion.
Cool.
And to make sure I'm on the same page, Osiris is the bird looking.
Yeah. Birdman with a mask.
The guy who looks like Nightwolf from Mortal Kombat. I do kind of like his like snake helmet. I think that's pretty fun. He's a snake.
He's a snake. Okay. So we're gonna do expansions in rapid fire. This is gonna be like 10 minutes, promise. So, first major expansion, Forsaken, kicks ass. Forsaken was a kind of a soft reboot of the engine, changed a lot of things gameplay wise. Also, really amped up the storyline. I played Forsaken when I first started playing Destiny. It is very, very good. Unfortunately, as of this recording, you cannot play Forsaken. It's in the vault. So,
Oh, dang it. Bummer.
unfortunately, watch a video. So Forsaken starts with the Guardian, us accompanying Cade 6. Remember Cade 6, Nathan Fillion?
Yeah.
Everybody loves Nathan Fillion. Yeah. Cade 6 and you and us, we investigate a prison break in an area called the Prison of Elders, which is like the big space jail in Guardians 1.
Okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
There they discover a new type of fallen. They're undead fallen, and they're called the Scorn.
Ooh.
And while on the Prison of Elders, Cade 6 is separated from the group and is cornered by a mob of Scorn. And he's about on death's door when Uldren Sov shows up, puts a bullet in his brain, and this is image 26. So Forsaken begins with the untimely death of Cade 6. And this was a big deal because Guardians don't die. They don't kill off Guardians, but in this whole sequence, a sniper blows up Cade 6's ghost.
Oh.
And at this point, where you're seeing is so this is Uldren Sov has Cade's own gun pointed at him and shoots him in the head.
This image goes really hard.
It does.
It goes really hard. It's a really look. The cutscenes of Destiny are really, really good. And if anyone listening, if you have any passing interest at this at all, definitely go look for the death of Cade 6. I'll put it in the show notes. It's definitely one of the better cutscenes. It's really cool.
All right.
Cool. So Forsaken, the reason why people like Forsaken so much is it's a revenge story. It's a heist. So Forsaken begins with us as the character talking for the first time. The very first words that are spoken by our protagonist is Uldren Sov is mine.
Good.
Because that's it's cool, yeah.
Yeah.
So also Uldren Sov, did I say Uldren Sov is the one who killed him?
Yeah.
He shows up. I couldn't tell you why. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
All right. The whole bit with Forsaken is
retcon beam happened. That's
yeah,
why
sure.
he
Who
showed
cares?
up. Yeah.
Who cares? We have to track down the 8 Scorn warlords. And each one of them has a different personality. It's the rider, the hypocrite, the heretic. And we hunt them all down in the wasteland that's created for this game called the Tangled Shore. So we go to the Tangled Shore and we meet Spider, who is actually a fallen. He's a neutral fallen mob boss that operates a crime ring in this lawless part of the reef.
He's our Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
He's got a Jabba the Hutt. Yeah. So image 27 is the Spider. He's strung up by all these wires because he's so big.
Yeah.
He sure
And
looks like Jabba the Hutt.
He's getting he's getting ether pumped into him.
He's hutting.
So yeah, so we hunt. We get a list of our bandits. They're literally in the form of cards, and we go hunt down all the warlords, and it's really cool. So we finally meet up with Uldren, and it's revealed that Uldren has broken bad because he's been directed by a phantom of his dead sister Mara. Let's pause. Mara Sov died. I forgot to mention that. It's not important because she didn't actually die, but we think she died.
Backing up, Marasov died.
Yeah. Not important because she's not actually dead, but we think she died.
Sure.
So we see Uldren is talking to Mara, and we're like, what the fuck? She's dead. And Mara's like, yes, bring them here. Did you kill Cade 6? Good. And that's not Marasov. She's not super evil. Something's weird. Well, this is all because of the Wish Dragon Riven. So we enter the Dreaming City for the first time. Because at the time we're talking with Petra Venge, who was you may remember, was the spy master for the Awoken. So while Mara Sov is presumed dead, Petra Venge is our our connection to the Tangled Shore or to the reef. So Petra's like, hey, BT Dubs, Mara Sov isn't actually dead, but you can't tell anybody. So I'm going to take you to the Dreaming City, which is our pocket dimension where we all go to take a nap. But when we get there, holy shit, the Dreaming City is off. The Dreaming City has been overrun by Taken. What happened was Riven was taken over by Savathun. Savathun, by extension, cursed the Dreaming City to be bathed in darkness. So every 3 hours, the Dreaming City becomes Taken. That means the Dreaming City is cursed every 3 hours to be infiltrated with darkness, and everybody turns into mindless husks for an hour and then goes back to normal. And then 3 hours later, they become taken again.
I mean, that doesn't seem like the worst deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we go to the Dreaming City and we fight a bunch of Taken. We kill Uldren inside of the Dreaming City using Cade's gun, and we get our revenge.
Nice.
And in that raid, we actually hunt down Riven and kill Riven, the last of the Wish Dragons. So in the post-credits to Forsaken, we see a ghost enter the Dreaming City and resurrect Uldren as a guardian, which will be important later.
Uldren, the guy who killed the guardian that we like, is now a guardian. Okay.
Is now a guardian. And this is the first time where we're like, hey, why?
Yeah.
Hey, why? And starting to ask the question, well, light is not moral. Light is just a force of energy.
Right.
Sure. Okay.
So in Forsaken Seasons, we get introduced to a character named Emperor Callus. This is an exiled former leader of the Cabal. He flies a gigantic pleasure ship called the Leviathan. It's gold. We go and we hang out in his... what's the gold robot from Futurama?
Oh, the hedonism bot.
He's hedonism bot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get to Shadowkeep. Shadowkeep's the next major expansion. Now, Shadowkeep is all about we're gonna take back the moon.
Okay.
We're gonna take it back. Moon heist. We're gonna take back the moon. So we're with the partnership of Eris Morn. We dive deep below the surface of the moon. We discover a big old pyramid, and we hear a scary, scary voice. And this is our first time communing with the witness, although we don't have those words yet. Also, we get informed of a presence of darkness on Europa, which is a moon of Saturn, hinting that this ancient enemy that caused the collapse might be closer than we think. Following that, we assist Osiris in an actual time heist in the Vault of Glass. We save his long-lost lover, the famed Titan Saint 14. So we go back in time using the Vault of Glass because it's a paradox. We go into the Vault of Glass and find a shotgun that was left by a dead Saint 14. And then we move further through the Vault of Glass to find an alive Saint 14 thousands of years before and hand him the shotgun that was meant for him, that was dedicated to us, saying thank you for the shotgun. And therefore we do a time heist and save Saint 14.
Good
Awesome.
enough.
So this brick shit house of a man is the Russian Titan Saint 14.
He's a brick shit house of a man for sure.
Yeah.
You also don't need to know anything about him. You can forget him from your mind. I just wanted to tell the fun story about a time heist. Cool. Moving on. Eris and the team investigate more messages from the pyramid, more scary stuff. And yes, the Black Fleet is on their way. Oh my God, what are we going to do? This is the point at which everyone that's positioned in Titan, Io, Mercury, and Mars just start fleeing because, quote unquote, the Black Fleet is coming. This was Bungie's way of explaining the vault. So like, oh no, the Black Fleet is on top of Mars. Well, we can't go there anymore. We have to leave. It doesn't exist anymore.
We can't play the Mars levels.
We can't go there.
As somebody who is not at all ingrained in the Destiny community, I feel like that probably made it.
Everybody hated
worse.
that.
Yeah,
everybody hated that.
Sucks.
It was because it was like, oh no, the ships stole the planets. Hopefully they'll come back someday.
I put a lock on the snack cabinet and don't know where the key is.
Yeah, it's shitty. It's shitty. Okay, beyond light. So we head to Europa to investigate what we're told to the darkness to investigate. And we find, oh no, we're not alone, because a rogue fallen named Aramis, name not important, has established a new faction calling themselves the House of Salvation, also not important. What is important is that Aramis has learned to wield magical ice powers, which are connected to the darkness. This is called stasis. Spoiler alert, this is our new subclass.
Okay.
Is the House of Salvation our space Catholics?
Not important.
Okay.
We literally don't have time, Kyle.
Gotcha. Keep it moving.
Yes, but they're like Pentecostals in that like there's a bunch of different sects.
Sure.
Space Catholics.
Good.
Okay. We also catch up with the Stranger from Destiny 1. This was the person who literally called themselves the Stranger. It was like, no time to explain. She now has time to explain. Her identity is Elsie Bray, who is the other granddaughter of Clovis Bray. Also not important. We can move on. Elsie has communed with the darkness, is like, hey, this isn't like Star Wars. Darkness is not evil. Darkness is just the opposing force to light. It's cool, I promise.
Sure.
So we're like, dope, love that. I want to learn ice powers. Let's do that. So we do that. We learn stasis. We have the power of ice and of darkness and of God and of anime. And we take out Aramis and the rest of the Fallen. Cool. Back on the Tangled Shore, we encounter a guardian named Crow under the service of that mob boss, the Spider. This person is important because actually this is Aldrin. This is the resurrected Aldrin who doesn't remember anything about his past life, even though we do. And he's just kind of in servitude of the Spider. We work together to take down some people in service of Xivu Arath. This doesn't matter. What does matter is we become best buds with the Crow and are like, hey, Spider, we're going to buy his freedom. And we do. And then we take Crow back to the tower where he wears a mask because everybody knows who he is and that he killed our best friend, Nathan Fillion. But it's fine. All of this is fine.
Yeah.
We can't have that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, enter a new Cabal warlord named Empress Keitel. She is Image 29. She's also a brick shithouse.
With the tusks?
With the tusks.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, yeah, with the tusk with the fur. So Keitel is the new leader of the Cabal. And this is where the game starts to give us allies in the game. Up to this point, we've just been like humans fighting everybody.
Sure.
But in this expansion, we've made friends with a particular faction of the Fallen. This is now we have to call the Fallen is our word, not theirs. Their word is Elixni. So we've made friends with the Elixni. We also enter into an uneasy alliance with Keitel as allies with the Cabal. So we're kind of building this coalition against the capital D darkness. However, like we're not there yet because she's like, hey, do you want a truce? We'll just like conquer you and you just don't fight back. And we're like, that's not a truce though.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So Zavala is like, no, we're not going to do that. And in some ensuing chaos, discovers that Crow is Aldrin. That leads to a lot of feelings. Admits these feelings. There's an assassination attempt on Keitel's life. We prevent that. We're all cool now. So we're all friends. Great. So Beyond Light's seasons end with us getting tasked by Mara Sov. Also, Mara Sov has been under the influence of Savathun because Savathun's doing all kinds of stuff. Savathun's like, hey, remember I have a word parasite in my mind? I want to get that out and I need your help. So we do that. And like, whoops, Savathun also took over Osiris. This whole time that we've known Osiris, he's actually just been Savathun, the Witch Queen. That's probably bad. I don't know why, but it is.
Seems bad.
Yeah.
So basically, this is like Savathun saying, "Mwahaha! I have been orchestrating everything. My machinations have come to fruition." Right? That's what's happening here. So she's been orchestrating the time heist. She orchestrated all the alliances. Cool. So she's like, "Here's the deal. I created an empire. I created a throne world on Mars. Also, she gave us Mars back. Great,
neat.
Love
so
that.
we go to Mars to get more information and enter her throne world on Mars. Mars is very different. Now Mars is full of Hive. But wait, that's weird. All of the Hive are now using light powers. They've got ghosts. They're guardian Hive. What the fuck is going on? Why is the Traveler giving powers to the Hive, who are the agents of darkness? That's really weird. So this is the beginning of the Witch Queen, which is considered to be the best of the expansions. We make our way through the center of the throne world. We meet Savathun herself. We start to see phantoms of the old world. We learn more about the Hive, all the stuff I told you before, yada, yada, yada. The campaign ends in our final battle against the dream version of Savathun. And we exit the throne world and we learn the truth. After removing the RFK brainworms, Savathun made her way to Earth, where she died looking onto the Traveler for the first time, completely lucid and free of brainworms. And then the Traveler chose her as a guardian to be resurrected. So this whole campaign is happening in a dream state. And remember how, like, when Guardians are resurrected, they don't remember anything? This whole thing was a trick to get us to play back Savathun's own memories in her own throne world. So she would remember that she's big bad and that she's not an agent of light and that she's been doing all these things to take over and capture the Traveler.
Well, dang.
Okay.
Well, beans. So that's what she does. So she tries to steal the Traveler and take it into her own throne world. We can't allow that. We go back into the throne world. We fight Savathun. We kill her. We take the Traveler back to meat space. All is well. Following that, we learn Caius' fate. Hedonism bot was then taken over by the Darkness and has become the Hedonism bot Herald Darkness.
Oh,
That's
man.
bad.
Yeah, that's
No.
not good.
We also do some stuff with Ultron. It literally doesn't matter. Who cares? Who cares about Ultron? Okay, Lightfall. Lightfall was supposed to be the last expansion and the climactic end to Destiny's main arc, except they didn't, and they did a part 2 called The Final Shape, and everyone fucking hated it. So Lightfall begins as the Witness has arrived. The Witness has arrived with the full force of the Black Fleet and is ready to do another Armageddon. Except it's in search of the Veil, and it realizes that the Veil is in Neptune. So we race the Witness to Neptune and find the Veil hidden in Neomuna, that cool cyberpunk city that I talked about an hour and a half ago. While on Neomuna, we assist their own Temu brand guardians they call the Cloud Bearers. We fight Callus, we fight Hedonism Bot and his forces of darkness. We kill him, but the Witness is like, haha, I have other plans, my machinations, yada, yada, yada. So the Witness takes over our ghost and uses our ghost to like remote into the Traveler. And then it carves a big pink triangle into the Traveler. And then that pink triangle is a portal, and the Witness literally like yeets itself into the Traveler. It reverse births itself into the Traveler.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
Xivu Arath is around and is also trying to kill everybody. That's the other hive god. That's not important, but what is important is that Eris Morn resurrects Savathun and immediately slits her throat and then absorbs her powers because Eris Morn is fucking metal as hell. Eris Morn then does a ritual to become a hive god and become more powerful than any other hive god, and then banishes Xivu Arath, and it's cool. And then Eris Morn is like, I'm done. Yay, I don't need to be a hive anymore. Cool. How are we going to get into the Traveler, guys? There's no way to do it. Actually, there's a way. Remember the Wish Dragons? Cool. So we resurrect Riven. We're like, Riven, what's up, dude? We need help. And Riven's like, fuck you guys. You killed me. If you want to get a wish, you have to go
Get the 7 Dragon Balls.
Yeah.
You have to get the 7 Dragon Balls, which are the 7 dragon eggs, to make sure that my race doesn't go extinct. And we do that. And he's like, cool, got it. One person can go into the Traveler. And we're like, that's not what you said.
That's
and he's like, tough shit.
Is this,
Sucks to
is this
suck.
an egg sperm metaphor?
I do not have the capacity to answer that question. But what I do have the capacity for is explain how we get into the Traveler. Crow, aka Aldrin Sov, has also regained his memories. Don't ask me how. He's like, don't worry, guys, I got it. I have a psychic connection with my twin sister, Mara Sov. Him and Mara are twins. I forgot to mention that. They have a psychic connection. He's like, it's cool. If I go into the Traveler, she can see where I am. And it's like that scene in Poltergeist where they tie the rope around the person who goes into the TV.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah.
So if you let me
Okay.
go into the Traveler, Mara can be my eyes and ears, and then the rest of you just follow me in. How does that work? We literally don't have time. So that brings us to where we are today, which is the final shape, which is the final end game climactic battle, end of the story, climactic battle with the Witness, where we and the rest of our friends of the Vanguard and Crow enter through the pale, reverse birth ourselves into the Traveler through its pale heart. And who is waiting for us but Cade 6?
Hey, our boy.
He's there.
Yeah.
He's there. He never died. He's been in the Traveler the whole time. And the reason why he's there is because he was the monkey's paw when Uldren Sov wished to go into the Traveler. Riven was like, I'll let you go, but you're going to have to hang out with the guy that you killed the whole time.
Nice.
And that's where we're going to end today's episode. So you listening at home, if you've been listening this whole time and you've been listening to this madness, you yourself can go play Destiny, the game, right now. This is not an ad. I legally have to say that. And if you do go to do that, you will have access to the final shape, which is the last expansion and the end of this story. I am not going to reveal the ending of the final shape because I haven't played it yet because I'm halfway through it. But more importantly, because I didn't want to spoil the ending. And the ending is the climactic battle between us, the Guardian of Light, and the Darkness and the Witness. And it's good. It's really, really fucking good. That's what I got.
Cool, man.
That was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely lost me when it got a little soupy there in Destiny 2, which look, if you're going through 10 years of lore on anything,
it's gonna.
Yeah, the back nine's gonna get rough.
There's so much more. There's so much more nonsense.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
But like, this is fun. It's cool. I don't know that I'd go so far as to be like, oh, this is really good and really tight.
Yeah.
But like, it's fun. I had a good time.
It's fun. I think
cool stuff.
That's exactly it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun enough for what the game is, which is grind the same levels over and over again.
Click heads and get gun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gonna go shoot more.
Get gun, go shoot more. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks everybody. Thanks for listening to Debate This. And thank you to Zakix for commissioning today's episode. I will say once more, if you would like to commission your own episode, please head on over to patreon.com/debatethis. A one-time payment of $60 will allow you to dictate whatever bullshit we talk about next. Maybe USA Characters Welcome?
Could be.
Could be fun.
Could be Entourage. We talked about that a lot on the last episode.
Oh, woof. I just saw the face of God there. Woof. We're also Threads, Facebook, Instagram. You get it. Until next time, I'm Andrew Henderson.
I'm Kyle. Moon's haunted, always has been, Harper.
And I'm Matt Nacho Lubre Cole.
And we're saying thanks for debating with us. And if you think you were wrong, you can come fight us behind the swing sets, nerds.